Hi, I'm Will Ward, one of the teammates here at Forward Motion Medical. Thank you for taking the time to review this scanning tutorial with iPad Pros and iPhones. You can utilize any iPad Pro, 3rd generation or newer, as well as any iPhone, 12th generation or newer. Now let's dive into how best to position your patient to get the best results for your scans. The best position to have your patient in when scanning for orthotics is to have them in a supine position, either on an examination chair or on a regular chair with their foot propped up on a stool. Have your patient scoot forward so that the foot hangs off just enough so that we can capture that heel. When we go to capture the heel, we want to be able to scan it and capture as much of the heel as possible without any interference from the examination chair. To position your patient's foot, you can either hold the patient's foot yourself in subtalar neutral, or you can have the patient hold their foot in a 90-degree angle, and our team, once we've received the scans, can correct the foot digitally into a perfect subtalar neutral position. Now, let me show you how to scan. As we prepare to scan the patient, it's important to consider a few factors. First of all is the position of the camera. Yes, we do utilize the front-facing camera to be able to capture our patient's feet, as it contains a LiDAR sensor that allows us to make our scans accurate down to the micrometer. It's also important to make sure that the camera is at the bottom of the device so that we can properly capture underneath the heel as well as the rest of the foot. Think of using the device as a mirror to be able to see the patient's foot while performing the scan. We also want to make sure that the patient's foot is completely enveloped in green prior to initiating the scan. This will allow us the most accurate results, as well as be able to give us a good starting point from distance. The scan should be approximately 12 to 18 inches from the foot. Once we're ready to start, we can press the green button at the top, or we can tap the volume button on the side. Once we initiate it, we can begin to wrap the device up and around the foot, pivoting at an equal distance. As we pivot around, we want to make sure that the white plaster film begins to cover the entire foot, and we can always realign in the center and double check underneath the heel. And from there, we can stop the scan. Afterwards, the app gives us an opportunity to review the scan, and as you'll notice, we are missing the top of the foot as well as the space around the toes. For us to make a good device, it is only important that we capture the metatarsal heads down to the heel. When scanning with an iPhone, it's important to remember the few factors we talked about before, such as the camera at the bottom of the device, as well as measuring 12 to 18 inches away with a green fill all over the foot. Once we're ready, we can either hit the volume button or the green initiate button at the top and begin pivoting around the patient's foot to be able to capture as much as we need. Once we have everything we need, we can double check, end the scan, and verify in the review. Although we're missing the toes, this will be a good scan. Now I'll show you how to scan the patient's foot holding the foot in a subtalar neutral position while having an assistant scan the foot for you. First off, get into a position that allows you to hold the patient's foot in a subtalar neutral position and maneuver your body out of the way of the camera. Notice how my fingers are in the scan, but how they're above the metatarsal heads and they do not obstruct the lateral side of the patient's foot, allowing us to still create a good shape and fit for the patient's orthotic. Now I'll demonstrate on how to scan the patient while holding in subtalar neutral and having an assistant scan with an iPhone. Once again, hold the patient's foot in a subtalar neutral position, maneuvering yourself out of the way of the camera and allowing this assistant to scan the foot. Upon review, we can check out the scan, see that we have everything that we need to make a good device. Only holes and missing information are outside of the parameters of where we're going to build out the shell. This will be a good device. Once you're done scanning, and if you need to mark up the cast, you can select here, mark left cast, scroll in to the patient's scan, mark wherever you need to. You can also take a picture of the patient's foot or record a video. Thank you for taking the time to watch this scanning tutorial, and I hope you have a great day.